League Peacekeeper Fleet ID Challenge, the comm officer reported. Transmit our credentials and itinerary, Colonel Lee replied staidly as a dozen warship icons flickered into being on the tactical plotter positioned prominently in the command center. That dozen quickly grew to over 100, and Jenkins forced himself to relax as he knew that at least half of them were a match for the Bonhoeffer. And at that moment they all had their guns trained on the Armor Corps warship. Credentials and itinerary acknowledged, comm reported. I'm receiving a P2P link request. Jenkins cocked his head, making brief eye contact with General Akinoya, who seemed as surprised as he was. Accept the link, Lee commanded, and a moment later the image of a Gemin appeared on the screen. The Gemin were remarkably similar to humans. They were bipedal, featured external paired organs, such as eyes and ears, and largely interacted with their environments the same way humans did. They relied upon the same basic senses, had fingered hands with opposable thumbs, and organized themselves along similar social lines to those used by humans. But in spite of those similarities, the differences were striking. They had gray, porous skin with the barest hints of blue near their facial features. Their mouths were lined not with teeth, but rows of flexible bone plates that were more than capable of tearing through meat and bone alike. Their ears were long slits, which ran from midway up their necks to the tops of their heads, and their noses were recessed rather than prominent like human noses. And none of their external organs were quite symmetrical, though a consistent left-right bias seemed indiscernible to Jenkins. Still, it was their eyes, gray, featureless, and unblinking, that stood out the most. "Human warship Dietrich Bonhoeffer," the Gemin's auto-translated voice greeted. "This is Illumination League peacekeeping cruiser Azure Spire. Your destination star system is under quarantine. We advise for your safety that you return to your home star system and wait until we declare it to once again be transit safe. Acknowledge." Azure Spire, this is Dietrich Bonhoeffer Actual, acknowledging your transmission. Colonel Lee replied neutrally, while tapping out commands which, when received by the helmsman, saw the carrier's engines fire and drive the venerable warship toward the Naga Gate. "Our mission to the Naga system is considered top priority. My orders are to proceed there without delay, secure Terran interests in accordance with our lawful rights, and await further instructions from my government." "Acknowledge," he finished, his lips pursed in a thin line as he returned the Azure Spire CO's command. "Transmission acknowledged, Dietrich Bonhoeffer," the Gemin replied in the flat, emotionless tone of the auto-translator. "Acknowledge receipt of this duly issued warning regarding the Naga system's current status." Colonel Lee quickly examined a data packet, which he brought to General Akinoya for review. The ebony-skinned general nodded after reviewing the document and affixed his signature to it. "Azure Spire," Colonel Lee declared, forwarding the document to the comm officer. "We are transmitting our acknowledged copy of your warning." His lips twisted into a smirk. "We appreciate your concern for our well-being." "Transmission received. Proceed to the Naga Gate and do not deviate from the indicated route," the Gemin said before cutting the link. "Frosty," Akinoya muttered just loud enough for Jenkins to hear. He leaned toward Jenkins and added, "Prepare for a hot drop." "Yes, General," Jenkins agreed, having already issued orders to that effect. Better to be unnecessarily over-prepared. The alternative would get people killed. The Bonhoeffer adjusted course and speed as directed by the IL peacekeepers, and soon the main viewer was filled with the image of their destination wormhole gate. Clustered around the most massive gas giant in the Nexus system, the gates assigned to humanity's subset of the FTL, faster-than-light network, were relatively close to one another. The other League species, and even those species like the Vor and Arkel,